Okay, this is the layout of the pump assembly, which includes the beer or the feed pump, the stillage pump, and the reflux pump. All three pumps are exactly identical. They are wired exactly the same, and as you can see, the components laid out on the table here equal this one complete unit. If parts needed to be ordered separately, you can see the individual components. I'll name each one so you have an idea of what will be required. The tools required to assemble are simply a Phillips head screwdriver, a 1/8 Allen wrench, and a 7/16 boxed-in wrench. The actual pump components themselves consist of one motor assembly, and it will come with the electrical coupler for the driver installed. It'll have a mounting bracket, L bracket. It'll have one pump head assembly, one pump mounting assembly, and this is the coupler housing that houses the motor and pump together. It requires only 7 4mm by 10mm long metric screws. There is the one shaft coupler and a 6/32 by 3/8 set screw, and it's going to equal this complete component over here. So I'll go ahead and start and show you how easy it is to assemble, and let's begin. First, what we're going to do is we're going to take our motor and we're going to install the shaft coupler. And if you notice on the motor, there's a flat spot detent in the shaft, and that's going to orient directly over the set screw. So the coupler simply slips on the shaft, and we take our set screw and the 1/8 Allen wrench, and we can begin to seat that in place. Now you'll be able to tell when you catch the shaft because it'll start to tighten, and you don't want to have it very hard onto the housing. So we're going to pull it back just a little bit before we lock it in place. That way we have just a little bit of a gap between the coupler and the motor shaft. And then we'll lock the set screw in place. Okay. So now the shaft coupler is secured to the shaft. So now we're going to mount this into the motor housing. And if you'll notice on the block, there are two sides. One is flat and the other has a recess in it which matches the motor. Also too, you'll notice it has curved top and bottom and a flat bottom with two mounting screws that go into the bracket. The wiring is oriented to the bottom, or you notice the wiring here to the two screws on the bottom. And the 4 holes are lined up. We simply drop the 4mm by 10mm screws into the holes, and with our Phillips head screwdriver we'll then lock them in place. Okay. So now the motor assembly is attached with the shaft coupler and the mounting housing. So now we're going to mount the pump plate, and that goes on the other surface. And you'll notice it has the matching holes. It simply lays over the center, and you'll notice the 3 holes that will match. If you orient the wrong direction, nothing will match up. So it'll only go with the notice the wiring in the bottom tab is up here on the left side. And then we'll take the 3 remaining screws and they will lay into the pump plate. Okay, now the pump plate is mounted securely onto the motor housing. And at this point, with everything locked in place, we can simply take the motor, line up the tang on the shaft coupler into the pump assembly, and then what this will do is it has little grooves that catch the offsets in the plate, and it simply snaps in, twists, and locks in place. Now the pump assembly is together. These pumps are peristaltic pumps, and you can check the smoothness and make sure nothing is dragging on the roller assembly. and this is where the tubing will be placed, and we close, it over center locks and positively captures the tubing. And now we're ready for the final bracket assembly as the pump is completed. The bracket assembly is oriented with the wiring to the bottom where it mounts into the bracket. So you can see the wire coming off the side, and it'll line up the holes for the bottom of the housing. And then we have a quarter 20 by ½ inch with a split lock washer that will go in and attach the bracket to the motor pump housing assembly. And then to finalize this, we just take our 7/16 boxed end wrench and we simply tighten these two bolts down. And they will automatically orient themselves to the correct position. Lock it tight. Remember, you are bolting into aluminum, so it's easy to strip if you overdo it. And there we now have a completed pump assembly, just like the first one we started with. And that's it.